This is my new nightgown. You guys want to see?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Stories from the Internet, and this is another Foodie Beauty and Nader video. So Foodie Beauty has been very active the past hour, at the time of this recording of course, and it seems she is trying to be on a blocking spree. So 1 hour ago, in her YouTube community tab, she posted this: going live after therapy. Turned comments off and blocking any negative people this morning. Go to a hateful reaction channel if you are so disgusted by me. I'm tired of the same shit. I'm not rehoming my cats. FFS STFU already. I don't care if you are a paying member. If you piss me off and are an ass, blocked and no coming back. Don't like it, unsub, exclamation mark, XO. Then she followed up with this picture 23 minutes ago, as of the time of this recording, saying this: can every judgmental butthole please study this? Thanks. The photo says this: bad decisions don't make you a bad person. Don't let your past define your future. And in many ways that makes sense, but if you repeatedly make bad decisions, then that is a track record, that is a habit, and those repeated bad decisions do add up. As I say personally, we are all the sum of our daily decisions. So if you make bad decisions each and every single day, then you are the sum of those decisions, which is all bad decisions. If you make some bad decisions, but mostly good decisions, then that usually sums up to good decisions, if you know what I mean. But this video isn't about that. This video is about clearing up a few things. The difference between an asylum seeker, a refugee, and a permanent resident as it relates to Nader al-Shami. So he claimed he came to Canada 10 years ago. So that means circa 2011. And I'm claiming he came here during the Arab Spring. Now, some of you might ask, what is the Arab Spring? Well, the Arab Spring was a series of anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arab world in the early 2010s. It began in response to corruption and economic stagnation and was influenced by the Tunisian Revolution. So what I'm trying to say is that he came here during the Arab Spring uprising. Now some of you might say this: well, that was 2010, right? And you would be partially correct. It was actually 2010 to 2012 was Arab Spring. So in 2011, it is my best belief that he was an asylum seeker that became a refugee in Canada. But before we continue, let's make the distinction between an asylum seeker and a refugee. From Amnesty International, amnesty.org says, who is a refugee? Well, a refugee is a person who has fled their own country because they are at risk of serious human rights violations and persecution there. The risk to their safety and life were so great that they felt they had no choice but to leave and seek safety outside their country because their own government cannot or will not protect them from those dangers. Refugees have a right to international protection. Well, who is an asylum seeker? An asylum seeker is a person who has left their country and is seeking protection from persecution and serious human rights violations in another country, but who hasn't yet been legally recognized as a refugee and is waiting to receive a decision on their asylum claim. Seeking asylum is a human right. This means everyone should be allowed to enter another country to seek asylum. Habitat for Humanity also has a definition. What is a refugee? Definition: refugees are people fleeing armed conflicts or persecution. There were 19.5 million of them worldwide at the end of 2014, according to UNHCR. Their situation is so perilous, they cross national borders to seek safety in nearby countries and become recognized as refugees with access to assistance from states and aid organizations. An important piece of this is that refugees are protected by international law, specifically the 1951 Refugee Convention. But even the terms refugee and asylum seeker are often confused. Well, Habitat for Humanity, what is an asylum seeker? Definition: an asylum seeker is someone who claims to be a refugee, but whose claim hasn't been evaluated. This person would have applied for asylum on the grounds that returning to his or her country will lead to persecution on account of race, religion, nationality, or political beliefs. Someone who is an asylum seeker for so long as their application is pending, so not every asylum seeker will be recognized as a refugee, but every refugee is initially an asylum seeker. So here's the thing. Foodie Beauty has stated that he, yes, Nader, is a refugee in her live stream on November the 3rd, 2021, and not a permanent resident, which is also a distinction because a refugee, aka a protected person, can become a permanent resident, of course.
Did a lot of planning like in bed yesterday, but go to bed early enough, go to the gym together. We can even film gym, like he wants to film gym videos with me. Like I can film at the gym with you guys. And what else? Gym. We have to work on videos, like everyday video, pillow talk planning. Should have moved back to Egypt. He can't live there, he's a refugee. I was thinking of moving to Greece. He has a brother in Greece. Could move to Greece. Cook for me every day. Who cares about my health? You know, like he might not make out with me in public, but the way he shows me he cares about me, cooking, wanting to, you know what I mean? Just like healthy stuff. Oh, sorry.
So let's take a look at this distinction from the Immigration, Refugees, Citizenship subsection of Canada.ca. So what does it state there? Let's take a look. Not that one. Here it is, right here. Who is considered a protected person? In Canada, the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada, IRB and IRCC decide who is a protected person. If the IRB determines you to be a person in need of protection or a convention refugee, or if you received a positive decision on your pre-removal risk assessment from IRCC, you are a protected person and may apply for permanent residence with this application. And then it goes on further. Am I eligible to apply for permanent residence as a protected person? I'm sure you guys can read that right here. There's more. What is a designated foreign national? You guys can read that as well. But here is what is important, because a protected person is a refugee. So in Canada, Natty Daddy is a protected person. So here's what it says here. This is what's important. I have been named a designated foreign national, DFN. When can I apply for permanent residence? DFNs are not eligible to apply for permanent resident status for a period of at least 5 years to a maximum of 6 years for all types of applications for permanent residence. You may need to wait 6 years in order to apply for permanent residence if you fail to abide by the conditions imposed to you by the Canada Border Services Agency. You will be notified if this is the case. When does the 5 or 6 year period begin? The 5 or 6 year period is counted from the date on which a final determination is made on the refugee claim or a PRRA. Any application submitted before the 5 or 6 year period will be returned. So there you have it. There you have it, folks.
I know it's a lot of changes and like everything, and I am happy. I need a different life. You guys, I know I know you guys are gonna be nostalgic for pre-Nader video, like pre-Nader era. I wasn't fucking happy. I was 402 pounds, just eating myself to death, doing nothing with my life, farting on here all the time. I'm sick of that shit. I don't know. I'm just tired of it. It was just, I want something else. Not meaning to be insensitive, but doesn't Nader want children? He loves children, but he said all his girlfriends, like most of them, he's had a few girlfriends who weren't able to have children that didn't bug him. Like, he doesn't want to have kids when he's like not in a position to have them. Like everything he's gone through and stuff. And
I will be putting links to this in the description of this video for further reference and documentation. So here's what I gotta say. Daddy Natty said he was in jail/prison in circa 2019 and did an 8-month stint in the bin. He had 5 or 6 years depending on his circumstances to get permanent residency, but didn't. Plus, if he had permanent residency, I believe a Foodie Beauty would have actually said he had permanent residency rather than him being a refugee. So what gives? He did have a court case though, and we all have the right to a speedy trial, even though typically trials can take years to make the rounds through the court system. Subsequently, this even gives rise to more questions such as, did he catch the case of stabbing his ex-girlfriend before he could get permanent residency? Did he just not try to get permanent residency? When did the stabbing occur? Were conditions imposed on him by the Canada Border Services Agency? Because remember, conditions can be imposed on your protected person's status. Remember that. The fact is, the more questions that get answered, the more questions arise, it seems. But what seems to be happening is that Nader and Foodie Beauty are currently on a path to engagement, moving in, and maybe a hasty marriage to bolster a claim of ties to Canada in case the deportation proceedings become sour for him.
no, Maddie, Savage Keyboard, I missed you. It wasn't Frank. It was another guy. I swear to God. Remember I told you about this guy that I met in the park in my car? I met a few guys in my car before after Nick. There was one guy that had like a fupa and a small wiener, and he played with me, I played with him. So Charlotte, this guy, and blah blah blah. I think I told you guys, did I not? The micro P guy, and I was like, no, I never did anything. I just made him an excuse and left, but I actually did do something with him. So yeah. But that's the only guy. But he was kind of gross. It might have been from him. No? No, I'm serious. Yeah, well, the nurse said it's tricky because, like, things that they previously thought about it, new studies are, like, always coming out, and they don't know now if it can come from kissing and stuff like that. That's what the nurse said, I swear to God. There was a time where he, like, every time I would come online and talk shit about him, he would get so fucking mad. And I would break up with him every time. It's over, it's done. So, maybe he did get mad and go sleep with somebody. I don't know. But it is what it is at this point. Like I said, the past, I'm not fucking living there anymore. I don't want to. I don't keep bringing it up. I don't want to live there anymore. I want to move on. I just want to be happy. I just want to be positive, and I just want to, you know what I mean? There's so many like positive qualities, so many things that are good for me with this. So I'm not saying that's what happened, Foodie Beauty's filter. I'm not saying I gave him the clap from that guy, but I'm just telling you that I did end up hooking. I did meet with that guy, and we just fooled around quickly. And I'm like, I'm never going to admit this to anybody. Hooked up with Micropene. No, because that happened. I did hook up with Micropene. That's why.
Anyways, this man actually does have a right to trial, and a speedy one at that. In fact, it even says so here. BennettJones.com. They say last Friday. Well, this article was actually written July 13, 2016. So in 2016, the Supreme Court of Canada took the right to a speedy trial and turned it into what now appears to be a right to a trial in 18 or 30 months, depending whether the case is heard in provincial or superior court. Despite a strong dissent by 4 Supreme Court justices who denounced attempts to capture reasonableness with a number and the setting aside of 30 years of case law on reasonable delay, the majority was clear. There is too much delay in the justice system, and we are finally going to fix it. So what does that mean? That means that probably when Nader was going through the rounds with his case he caught with the stabbing, it should have taken a maximum of 30 months, which gives us a clearer timeline of the events. So what can I say about this? I think things are moving rather fast for both Nader and Foodie Beauty. And of course, well, it actually depends. One side might think it's moving fast. Other side might think it's moving at a good pace. It depends on what your end game is. And we can all speculate as to what one person's end game is compared to what another person's end game is. At the end of the day, it's ultimately Foodie Beauty's decision to stay with this guy, to be with this guy, to get engaged to this guy, to be married to this guy. It's her decision, it's her life. She's an adult. She can and will have to deal with the consequences. Anyways, that is it for me. Hopefully this answers some questions in regards to Daddy Natty, what's going on, and what will happen in the near future. I do believe that they are going to get engaged soon. I do believe in the next couple of months. Before March, I do think before March they will move in, because things are moving rather rapidly. But as always, I will keep you updated on anything and everything that happens in the Foodie Beauty verse. And leave me a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you another time. Take care.